Alright, welcome to how to replace your LCD panel on your ASUS model X555L Series laptop. There's many variants of this laptop, but generally the chassis is all the same. This one is devoid of a CD-ROM and other features. It's probably the entry-level model, being the X55 or 555L, sorry. This is also missing a piece here. This is just a plastic cover that used to be on the laptop to just cover in this area, but the owner smashed it a few times and it's been lost in a previous repair. Anyways, the tools you'll need would be a fine point screwdriver. I just happen to have my favorite. It's not anything in particular special. And I always use one of these little tiny X-Acto knives with only one blade showing in order to pry open something or get it started. Obviously you could cut stuff with it, so you're going to have to be careful. Essentially, there's not much to these. They're actually decently engineered. I've already previously taken this apart to speed up the video just to get to the meat versus giving you the potatoes. There are 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 screws you have to remove. You can ignore the screw on the RAM bay because this screw does not pass through to the motherboard or the chassis inside. It's just a cover and so on. So once you remove your, again, 3, 6, 7, 8, 10 screws, they're all generally the same length with the exception of these two screws. They are a thinner and longer screw versus the standard screw being slightly shorter and a different thread. Or is it the same diameter? It is. It's just shorter. So keep track of those so you don't put the long one in the wrong spot. The next thing you know, you've gone through the circuit board and then you've caused some irreparable damage that you don't want. Once all the screws are off, you can basically flip open the lid and starting on one side again, using your little pry tool, plastic one would be smarter, you're going to get this lip started, and then you're going to want to have this open, and you're going to want to carefully, oh, it's already snapped into place, start prying it up, like so, get that going, there we go. And again, don't go too far. There are 2 Mylar cables underneath that attach the keyboard and the mouse pad, of course, to the circuit board. I'll just open this up for you. I'm going to come in here, and then again you'd have this Mylar cable here. This is just a flip up clamp, and the same with this one, which is the mouse pad. So hard to get that wrong when you put it back together, but you'd want to kind of keep track of how the cables are laying and how you're going to put them back in. It's going to be a little tricky for that one, but it can be done obviously because they've made it in the first place. Once that cover is gone, it's a good time to take the fan out and service it. A little cleaning wouldn't hurt. If you have a bad hard drive you want to change to a solid state, this one obviously has a rotational drive. This is also a good time to do that. There's 2 screws here on the fan, this one and this one, and then you can pop it out and give it a blow with some compressed air. But today we're after the panel itself. It's hard to see, but there's a big shatter mark here. Even though the computer is just fine, you can see some of the screen. Obviously it's not acceptable. And the replacement panel was about $70. So even though it's not exactly the latest laptop anymore, $70 isn't a bad idea to spend on it, especially if you like it. So don't feel too bad about spending $70 on a panel. Okay, after this cover is off, you're going to want to take this connector out. This is your actual video connector to the system board, but realistically you probably don't have to, but just to be safe, in case you decide to take the panel off, this connector just comes off this way and slides that way towards the screen. And again, just make sure you keep the wires orientated correctly, so when you put it back together you don't pinch anything. After that, you're going to want to just take off only 2 more screws. They're located behind these plastic covers, and that's why I use the little X-Acto knife. It picks off the little sticky plastic. They look like those, and if you lose them, no big deal. It's just a little cosmetic change that they did. And again, once these 2 screws are out, you can start prying the bezel off of the laptop. Basically, you just want to have it upright, start at the bottom potentially, and it just slowly clips out, as you can see. And just take your time, don't rush it. If it gets tight, it's okay. And this side is a little looser for whatever reason than this side. You want to fold it back a bit and just take it out like that. And that's that piece. You don't have to remove the hinges on this system. Even though you might see this cable coming through here, you don't have to remove it. I just take this off just in case. This cable comes off the panel itself, is the trick there. The wireless wires, everything else stays in place. This is all you need to touch. There are 4 screws on this panel that actually hold it in. And I just put 2 back in again just to speed it up for everybody without having to do a lot of edits. I've dropped that, but I can see it. And I'll take this one out. Oops. Like so. And again, the other 2. And they're all the same type of screw type in that regard. With the exception of these are the same pitch as the thicker screws. Again, they're just shorter. Oops, that's not the thicker one. No, it's the same thread pitch, just shorter again. So once you have all 4, the panel just lifts off. There are locating pins on each tab. It's just a piece of plastic in behind it from the actual frame cover. And you just lay the panel down. It's no good anymore. Don't worry about scratching it. And so on. And here's our connector that we're looking for. If you're going to get a replacement panel, depending on the model you get, it's very possible that this connector is different. This is important when you're shopping for it. ScreenCountry.com has the panel, that's where I ordered mine from, and it's the model number, not just the X555L. You need the code after it to narrow it down to which panel is yours. Don't just go in there and say, you know, I'll just take that one, because there are some different types for whatever reason, probably because of higher end display on upper models. Again, just take our little X-Acto knife and carefully get that started. And we can just slice it, I guess. Kind of crude of me to do. And there's your little connector. And again, it just pulls back. I'll just take off some of the tape. And that's it. The panel's free. Again, get a replacement panel. And it's hard to see. There's a big split here. This thing's filthy. The previous owner doesn't, or the current owner doesn't like taking care of it, and so on. This goes to electronic recycling, of course. You just don't want to throw it in the garbage. And then when you get your new panel, you're just going to reverse the procedure, and that's really it. You don't have to take apart anything here. A battery is here if you're interested to replace that if you have a faulty one. And for those who have a CD-ROM, there shouldn't be any change in this assembly, because this cover just bolts into here, which would be the tab for the actual CD-ROM. If you're a CD burner, I guess. If you had one or want one, there's the connectors already in place. But this is just literally just a piece of plastic that they slide in and bolt right here. That's it. So again, you don't have to take that apart either. And you can leave your cable loose, of course, and that's it. That's all really you have to do. Again, make sure you get the model after the X55L designation on the bottom, which should be right here. This is what you're reading all the time, but it's this code, X55LA TAC BH51, is how you find out the actual panel you need. And in this case, there's only 2 options for the panel, and it's glossy or matte finish. The matte finish, for whatever reason, costs more. I don't know why. I thought the glossy one would cost more by a couple bucks. That's it. If you have any problems, obviously review the video from the beginning. And good luck, and save some money.